What's up guys, Dr. Joey Munoz here. Welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner. Today I wanted to give you guys 3 tips on how to mitigate weight gain throughout this holiday season. Thanksgiving is really only just a couple days away. That means Christmas is under a month away, and typically weight gain occurs around the holiday season. You hear all these statistics that American adults gain on average 10 pounds or so per year, or whatever that specific number may be. And then some people do some calculations and they're like, oh, that's only really eating an additional 10 calories per day. But the truth is, weight gain doesn't occur evenly throughout the year. If we look at specific times of the year where weight gain mainly occurs, it occurs mostly throughout the holidays. And a lot of people can deal with a lot of anxiety or stress associated with the holidays because they've had efforts throughout the year to lose or maintain their body weight and don't necessarily want to regain any body weight throughout the holiday season. So with that said, here are 3 simple tips that you can implement this holiday season to help mitigate any weight gain that you would otherwise experience. The first tip I'm going to give you is a little bit unorthodox, and it's not something I necessarily recommend year-round. But if you know you're going to have a large dinner, let's say for Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's, you don't have to have a large breakfast and a large lunch, right? If you know you're going to have a high-calorie meal at night, you're probably going to eat as much as you can, you're going to enjoy yourself with family, then perhaps just have a much lighter breakfast and lunch. Perhaps focus mainly on protein throughout those meals and don't make them very calorically dense. That way, you don't have to stress out or have any anxiety about having a larger meal at dinner. This is one of those strategies I try to implement with my clients when I work with clients with one-on-one coaching. Usually if they tell me they're gonna go out to dinner with some family, gonna go out to a nice restaurant, they usually ask me, how do I track my calories at the restaurant? How do I make smart food choices so that the meal is not so calorically dense? And although I do give them some recommendations on some substitutions they can make in order to have a less calorically dense meal, I also tell them that, hey, you should probably just have fun at dinner with your family and enjoy yourself, not be super stressed out about how much you're eating. And an easy way to do that is just eat less throughout the beginning portion of the day. And then you can allow yourself to eat a larger meal at dinner without having to worry or stress so much about what the caloric density of that meal is. The second strategy revolves around the holidays themselves. And usually when we are in holiday mode, I'll call it, let's say many of us are traveling, right? We may travel to go see family. We're not in our own homes. We're staying with different family members. It's common that we are very, very inactive during the holidays, right? If we're not home, we typically don't have access to our gym. So our routine is not what it normally is. And we tend to be very sedentary. Even if you're on vacation, you can still be active. And that's one of the recommendations that I give everybody to try again and mitigate weight gain during the holidays. Just because you don't have your normal routine doesn't mean you can't be active, right? It doesn't take much equipment to go outside and go for a walk. Walk more than you usually do if you're not lifting weights, if you're not doing your usual exercise routine. This will help increase energy expenditure, which again will allow you to eat a larger meal at dinner with your loved ones without stressing about weight gain. The third tip is going to be around the meal itself. So when you do go eat, make sure you prioritize healthy food choices. And again, this is probably the most basic and easy tip that I can give you guys that you've probably already thought about. But when you go serve yourself, don't focus on side dishes first, right? Usually for Thanksgiving, we have things like green bean casserole, sweet potato casserole, a whole bunch of casseroles, right? And they're usually not high in protein. However, the turkey that can be a little bit dry, depending on how good of a cook you are, is usually what people don't fill their plate up with. So the third tip is going to be to focus on protein first when you are at dinner for the holidays. So load up on protein, load up on veggies, and then of course enjoy yourself with desserts or whatever sorts of sides you'd like to consume, but making sure you eat adequate protein and focusing on consuming enough protein first will help you feel more satiated and perhaps reduce the total amount of food you would eat. Whereas if you started with the desserts or some of the sweets or some of the side dishes, you can likely eat a lot more of those foods because one, they're less satiating, 2, they're much more palatable and delicious, which means that you'll likely have a hard time eating a small amount of those foods. All right, guys, to quickly recap, 3 tips to help mitigate weight gain during this holiday season. 1 is to eat less throughout the day on the day of the holiday itself, right? Breakfast and lunch don't have to be super heavy meals. Make them light meals, revolve them around protein. Tip 2 is to stay active. Many of us are very inactive during the holidays, which means that we're not only eating a huge meal and having a high calorically dense meal at dinner, but we're also not burning any energy throughout the day. So make sure you stay active. It doesn't take much equipment to get outside and go for a walk. Make sure you're walking a lot if you're not doing any other sorts of activities during the holidays. And then 3 is when you do have a meal for the holidays, especially at dinner when you're with loved ones and everybody's together enjoying some food, make sure to focus your meal around protein. That'll help you feel the most satiated, potentially help you feel the most full, and should lead to a reduction in total caloric intake at that given meal. All right, guys, catch you next Wednesday with another episode of Coach's Corner. See ya.